The Last of the Mohicans, Chapter 9. A Race Against Time. "We cannot start on this expedition without planning," said Hawkeye. "The Indians make their plans over a council fire, and it is a wise thing to do. We must return to the fort tonight, and tomorrow we will be fresh and ready to start." Hayward and Moreau would have preferred to leave immediately, but they bowed to the scout's wisdom and slept briefly. The heavens were still studded with stars when they slipped into a birch canoe and headed silently across Lake George toward the Iroquois lands that lay to the north. As the day dawned, they passed through a narrow canal and stole cautiously among the hundreds of little islands that dotted this portion of the lake. It was by this route that Montcalm had traveled with his army, and the search party feared he might well have left some Indians behind to ambush stragglers. At the opening of an intricate channel, Chingachgook signaled for them all to be quiet. His eyes moved warily from island to island on both sides of them. "What's the matter?" inquired Hawkeye. The Indian gravely raised his paddle and pointed to a small wooded island that lay before them. "Smoke," he announced. "It comes from a fire that burns low." "Push on, men," ordered Hawkeye. "Push with all your might." The whole party paddled furiously, but moments later, the crack of a rifle told them that they had been discovered. Over their shoulders, they saw a stream of savages flock to their canoes and push off on the sandy shore. Their even paddle strokes soon brought their canoe within 200 yards of Hawkeye's canoe. His long rifle was aimed, but a cry from Uncas caused Hawkeye to look at the long, low island looming before them. From its shore, another war canoe was heading towards them. Soon, a barrage of bullets was coming fast and furiously from every direction. Hawkeye, alarmed at this new danger, suddenly took aim and fired, killing the captain of the first canoe. With one long, agonizing cry, the Indian dropped his rifle into the water and fell back into his comrade's arms. Coolly and calmly, the search party shot ahead until the savages were forced to retreat. Soon the Indians were only specks on the horizon. The route Hawkeye's party was taking lay along a wide stretch of water that was lined by high ragged mountains. The strokes of their paddle grew more even, and for the first time after their narrow escape, they began to relax. Several hours later, the canoe glided into a bay near the north end of the lake. They landed there, carried the canoe into the woods, and made camp. When the sun came up the next morning, it was Uncas who picked up Little Renaud's trail on a spot of fresh earth that had recently been unturned by some heavy animals. "A hound never ran on a more beautiful scent," Hawkeye told his companions. Their spirits were high and their hopes raised as they moved out. The astonishing success of the chase, which had covered more than 40 miles, gave the party renewed confidence. Monroe and Hayward were amazed at how quickly their scout uncovered the false trails and sudden turns that their swifty enemy had devised in an attempt to confuse them. But late afternoon, they arrived at a spot where the captives had apparently spent the night. Burned embers, the remains of a deer, and a small borer for sleeping told the story. Footprints were everywhere, but the trail had mysteriously ended. A careful search of the area revealed only two stray horses that had been left to roam. "What does this mean?" asked Hayward. "It means we are entering enemy country," answered Hawkeye. "If the Iroquois were still fleeing, they would not have let the horses run free. Now we must all band together to find the path to the Iroquois settlement." The search was renewed in earnest, the men going over the ground inch by inch, turning over every leaf and stone. Soon, a cry from Uncas brought everyone running. He had found a moccasin print in the mud. "It's not the print of an Indian." "It's not the print of an Indian," Hawkeye, looking around the bed of the dam where the impression had been made. "The weight is too much on the heel. David must have been forced to wear moccasins." "White man went first," Uncas explained. "Right," agreed Hawkeye, and little Renaud followed behind, walking in his step. "But what happened to Cora and Alice?" cried Hawkeye. "That sly Iroquois found some tricky way to carry them and throw us off the track," Hawkeye explained. "But do not fear. We shall see their pretty little feet again before many miles go by." "Perhaps he used his hand bottle," Colonel Moreau suggested, picking up the fragments of boughs that was still tied together with willow twigs. "He's a cunning devil," said Hawkeye. "But the game is not over yet. Look, now you can see several moccasin prints. Look here, Iroquois wigwams, not so far away now." "Not so far away. Iroquois wigwams, not so far away now," the older Mohican said. "All right, Chingachgook, you take the hill to the right. Uncas, you follow the brook to the left," said Hawkeye. "The rest of us will continue on the trail. If anything should happen, the signal will be there. Croaks of a crow. Croaks of a crow." The Indians went their separate ways, while Hawkeye and the Englishmen marched into a little thicket, where the path ended for the second time. Peering through the trees, they saw a small lake whose peaceful surface was disturbed only by the occasional plunge of a beaver, black. Situated on its banks in neat rows were the earthen dwellings of the Iroquois nation. Hawkeye was all ready to give the crow's call when a rustling in the leaves distracted him. Just ahead, a strange Indian, crawling on all fours, came into view. He too seemed occupied in observing the village. It was hard to tell much about his features, because his face was smeared with a grotesque mask of war paint, and like all Iroquois, his head was shaved except for a tuft down the middle. Three faded hawk feathers dangled loosely from his tuft of hair. A ragged calico vest went halfway round his chest. A shirt had been substituted for pants, with his legs fitting into the arm openings, and deerskin moccasins covered his cut feet. This was an individual of miserable appearance. Little by little, Hawkeye crept through the underbush until he was only a few yards away from his enemy. Suddenly, the red men stood up, completely fearless, and faced him eye to eye. Hawkeye burst out in a fit of silent laughter. Both Colonel Monroe and Major Hayward fell back in amazement, thunderstruck, unable to speak. Finally, Hawkeye spoke for them. David Gamoot, he exclaimed. Whatever are you doing in that outfit? Oh, that's the end of chapter 9. David Gamoot, what are you doing in that outfit? The Irricu dressed me as one of them. We'll be back with chapter 10 or 9 or 10. That was 9.